Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I'm your host Stan Rattan and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, excuse me, where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. And today we're going to look at sparkling wine. And why do I say sparkling wine? Because you can't call a sparkling wine champagne unless it's from where? Champagne, France. Now I know a lot of you guys, that's like technicality, but there's a whole organization built to protect the name Champagne. And even though there's a lot of sparkling wines out there that are certainly getting close to the quality of Champagne, just the soils of Champagne, the style of making the wine is certainly unique to that part of the world. So, out of respect for their territory, we use the term sparkling wine. So we're going to do a Prosecco and a sparkling wine from New Mexico, Gruet. Now, I know a lot of you out there like Prosecco. In fact, I like Prosecco. I used to call it Avion with bubbles. I have a question for you. Do you buy Prosecco if it's over $16? Because I know, at the store, a lot of Proseccos are run around that $14 to $15 range. Do you turn away when the Prosecco gets up closer to 20 bucks? And what is it that you like about Prosecco? I also have a question I'm going to answer at the end of the program, and maybe you will answer it before I get there. But like on the Gruet, it uses the term method champenois, or traditional method. In other words, they secondary fermentation happens in the bottle. They degorge it. They take the yeast and things out of the top. They dosage it, so they put a little sugar and alcohol in the top of it to determine the dryness of the wine. And then they rebottle it. That's just in a nutshell, the method champenois, or the traditional method traditionale. What method is commonly used to make Prosecco? There's a method that they use. What is that method? Do you know the answer to that? I'm going to tell you at the end of this. But let's get started. This is Valdo Prosecco Superior Oro Puro. And this rolls in at $16. So it's hedging on that area where I'm wondering if you guys would buy it at that price. Can you see that okay? My camera looks like it's, there we go. Lighten up. That's one of those apertures, that it has to adjust. So, this is a $16 Prosecco. Let's give it a little rinse here. Now, Prosecco is actually a DOCG. I don't know if you knew that. In other words, it's an appellation all by itself in northern Italy. The larger region is known as Veneto. And do you know the name of the grape that is referred to also as Prosecco? Well, in this area where they make Prosecco, they have to have at least 85% Rare, we can also call it Prosecco. So just a little fun fact for you about Prosecco. Rare is the name of the grape, but it can also be called Prosecco, which is also its own appellation inside of Veneto. There you go. Wine isn't a mystery, but there's a lot of things. In Italy, there's over 3,000 grape varietals, so it's amazing. Amazing. In fact, they can use up to 15% of a whole host of other grape varietals that I can't even name at this point. I mean, I know I've written them down. I can't tell you what they are, but the main grape thing to remember is Glera. So let's see what we get on the nose. Get a little peaches coming through. Some apple notes. This is, the thing about the method that they use to make Prosecco sparkling is that it allows for a little bit more of the fruit characters of the grape to come out. That's a little dusty element, a little minerality coming through, which I find interesting. Let's see what we get on the palate. So big bubbles, not uncommon with Prosecco. Because of the method that they use, the bubbles are a little coarser. I get a little lemon, apple. I get like a little bit of a grapefruit rind coming through, like the pith of the grapefruit coming through. A little tangerine. I get the peaches on it. You know, just a nice mouthfeel. Very, very, the fruit is really coming out in this wine. It's what you would call a tan in the delicious category. Very clean. I've always referred to, I think I said this earlier, Avion with bubbles. Of course, we've got fruit with that too. But it's a very, very clean, crisp, dry style wine. I think this said it was a, did it say Brut? Did not say whether it was a Brut style or not. Oh, pregnant pause there. Sorry about that. Sometimes I get wrapped up in the label. Anyway, this is a nice, clean, very delicious little sparkling wine for $16. Now, do you prefer Prosecco over sparkling wine done in the method champenois or champagne? I'm curious. Make a comment. Let me know. Do you like it better? And do you drink sparkling wine often? Or is it something that you only do during celebratory events? Now, I treat, personally, I treat sparkling wine like any white wine. I think it has a very purpose for a lot of things. It's a great matchup with shellfish. You know, upcoming Halloween, what a better thing to do. There's nothing better than to sit in. While the trick-or-treaters are coming to your house, you're popping a bottle of bubbles and enjoying a glass of sparkling wine or champagne or whatever it is. Let's move on to the next one. This is Gruet's 25th anniversary. Pretty impressive, 25 years in the biz. From New Mexico, Gruet Blanc de Blancs. And this rolls in at $16. So how many of you out there know when it says Blanc de Blanc? What does that mean? Well, it means that it's primarily, if not 100% Chardonnay based sparkling wine. And the three grapes of Champagne are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. And those are the three main grapes. Of course, the big muscle of Champagne is Pinot Noir. And you say, well, isn't Pinot Noir red? Well, yeah, it's only red if you leave it on the skins. The juice from a Pinot Noir grape is white. Therefore, you get these sparkling wines. So, Blanc de Blanc is 100% Chardonnay grapes. And a lot of people prefer Blanc de Blanc because it has a creamier, bigger mid-palate on it. At least that's what I've heard people say. And so Chardonnay-based sparkling wine, a lot of people like that over a Blanc de Noir, which is 100% Pinot Noir. And then there's Brut, which can be a blend of Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Meunier. And so, you know, those are the different styles. What is your favorite style? What do you like? Do you like Extra Dry, which is a little sweeter? Do you like Demi-Sec, which is sweeter? Or Sec, which is even sweeter? Or do you like a Brut style? Or do you like Blanc de Blanc? You know, what is your favorite? Let's see what we get on the nose with this. So because of this is done in method champenois or method traditionnel, they leave it on the lees, the yeast and all that, inside the bottle, and they turn it so that it kind of blends the flavor characteristics of that yeast particles into the wine, and then they'll freeze the top, causing the degorgement, where they take that yeast out, as they call it riddling, where they eventually get that sediment down to the bottom, to the neck, where they freeze it, then they pop it, then they fill it with a sugar alcohol mixture to fill it back up, then they recap it. So, what I'm trying to say is it gets that yeasty characteristic comes through. And certainly on the nose it comes through. You get a little bread dough, a little marzipan, a little nuts. I like the nose on this one. A lot of people do like that. You know, Veuve Clicquot, Yellow Label, big time champagne producer, and it's one of the most popular champagnes that I sell in my store, even at the price of close to $60 a bottle. And people like it because of that yeasty bread dough kind of marzipan thing that goes on. I could get a little filbert nut on this one. A little perfume action coming through. I like the nose on this. Let's see what we get on the palate. So that yeast, that bread doughy thing, the marzipan comes through on the palate. I get a little lemon on the back end, even a little lime, which is interesting. A little bit of apples and pears coming through. Very nice. This again is tender, delicious factor. Very nice. $16. So here's an example of a fresher style Prosecco with a little bit more fruit coming through, and a method champenois, method traditional, where you get more of that yeastiness coming through, that heavier style on the palate. This has a really rich mid palate on it. So it just depends on what you're looking for. But the key is to always look at champagne as a bottle, or sparkling wine as a bottle of white wine. It's great with food. Yeah, I use it to celebrate. I use it when I wake up in the morning. Hey, I'm up. I'm going to drink a bottle of bubbles. That's how much I like sparkling wine. So, remember the question I asked at first. What is the method that they use to make Prosecco? It's called the Charmat method, named after the guy who kind of developed it, Eugene Charmat. And he perfected this, and even a lot of people kind of worked with it and tried to make it happen. But what they do is they put the wine into a enamel-lined tank where the secondary fermentation goes through, and then they filter it and bottle it. So the sparkles come from the secondary fermentation in a bigger tank. A cheaper way to do it than by the bottle, certainly more consistent. Because it doesn't sit on the lees, you get a fresher, fruit-forward style wine. So that's called the Charmat method. So there, hopefully you learned something. You know, I really appreciate you watching. I would like you to make a few comments if you get a chance. It's not hard to do. Subscribe to my channel so you know when I have a new episode coming out. And I really do appreciate you watching. And here's to keeping the snob out of wine.